Hello, my name is Carolyn Westbrook, and in this video I'm going to talk about assessing integrated skills. We often test language skills one skill at a time. For example, we might give a reading test or a listening test. This makes sense in some cases. However, many classroom and real-life tasks combine two or more skills. For example, a conversation involves listening and speaking. Writing an essay may involve not only writing, but also listening to lectures and/or reading to get ideas to put into the essay. An online chat with a friend via Facebook or WhatsApp requires reading and writing. In this case, we may wish to assess the skills in an integrated way too. What assessment tasks could you give your students that would integrate two or more skills? Which skills would they use to complete the tasks? Which could be formative tasks and which could be summative? Here are some suggestions for other common tasks you can use. As you can see, they can all be formative or summative tasks. Another point about all of these tasks is that they are real-life tasks and involve students in genuine communication rather than merely listening and/or reading for the sake of answering some comprehension questions. The important thing to consider with integrated tasks is how we are going to assess them and what feedback we want to provide. So what should we assess? When we assess speaking and writing, we may assess the product, in other words, the final piece of work, the process, how the student got to the final piece of work, or both. How should we assess? We do this using a rating scale. When we assess integrated tasks, we can also assess the product, the process, or both using a rating scale, but we may need to assess and give feedback on more than just the language. What other aspects might we want to assess in an integrated task? When we assess integrated tasks, we need to consider not only the output, that is, what students produce, but also how the input was used, that is, what information students used to help them achieve the task. That could be understanding a counterpart in a dialogue, or books or websites that they had to read to find the information. Depending on the task, some areas we may want to assess include the extent to which students understood the input, the extent to which they responded appropriately to the input, how they integrated the input into their work if appropriate. Did they copy information from the sources or paraphrase, and if required, reference the sources? Did they just use one source or a range of sources? All of these aspects need to be considered in your assessment criteria. Finally, our top tip for integrated assessment is the learning outcomes that you want to achieve through the task should always guide the design of the rating criteria.